guys.
Hey guys.
Welcome to this week's episode of the DMC. So we're talking about forgiveness, something that I feel like is very important.
It's very important.
Very important in our lives, in our everyday interactions with people. It's also a topic that's very close to my heart, in the sense that I've had to deal with people that didn't apologize, and I've had to forgive people that didn't apologize, or people that didn't even recognize hurting me. I think one other thing that's very important when it comes to forgiveness and the whole process is that if someone tells you that you have hurt them, you don't have a right to decide otherwise. You don't have a right to decide I didn't hurt you. I mean, you can explain to the person that you didn't mean to hurt them, or that wasn't your
try
intention.
to understand what they mean by saying you hurt them.
But you don't get the right to tell someone that you didn't hurt them, because what we feel is different, and what hurts us is different. What hurts me will probably not be what hurts Vicky, but if I do hurt her feelings, I need to apologize to her, so that she can, go through the process of forgiveness and healing.
Forgiveness is one thing that I struggle with here. I don't know why, but every time somebody hurts me, I always feel like I should revenge for me to forgive. It's always like, I need to get
an eye for an eye type situation.
Yeah, I struggle a lot. But as I'm still working on it. For if you hurt me in a certain way, for me to decide it's forgiven or forgotten, I need to
hurt me back.
Exactly. And I realized that wasn't taking me anywhere, because most of the times, even after hurting you, I still feel crappy because it's here, it's still eating on me, instead of just talking to you like, yo Bobo, I think this is what you shouldn't have done to me. It hurt me, and I feel like now you should apologize, we should talk about it, and then just let it all out. Because the minute I revenge, it means that we're
both hurt.
Also, we're building something on top of something that's already happening, and that's already messing the situation up. So I feel like I need to work on that. Wow. Yo, bruh, nah, I don't forgive easily. I do not. If I said to you now, I've forgiven you, and you just did something wrong, you know that I'm lying. For it takes a lot from me to forgive. There are certain people and certain situations that I feel like I'd never forgive ever, and honestly, that is not taking me anywhere, because every time I think about it, I feel like I'm still here.
You're stuck in one place.
I'm stuck in one place. I'm not moving from point A to point B, and that is something that I feel like I should learn to do.
For yourself.
For myself. Also, my thing is, I'm always like, I cannot forgive someone because it's expected of me to do when I feel like I'm not ready. That's one thing with forgiveness. Forgive because you are ready. You mean it.
There's something I once said to my friend Jotabi, that forgive, the person that hurt you, forgive the relative that disappointed you, forgive the lover that broke your heart, forgive the friend that betrayed you. Forgive them, because you don't deserve to carry that. But most importantly, forgive yourself. Because you didn't know any better in that. Yeah, you didn't know any better in that situation, but to trust that person. You didn't know any better than to give them your love. So I think sometimes what kills us when it comes to forgiveness is that we can't find it in our hearts to forgive ourselves. So if I loved you with everything and I trusted you, even when the signs showed me that something here is wrong, if you hurt me, I'm not only disappointed and angry at you for what you did, but I'm disappointed in myself for trusting you. I'm disappointed in myself for letting you in that close. But you need to forgive yourself because you didn't know any better. And that's okay. Like, I think the other thing that people need to learn is that forgiveness and the process of hurt sometimes is what helps us grow and what helps us learn, if that makes sense. I'm not saying that people have a right to hurt you. But I'm saying that in learning to forgive them, you learn a few things about yourself, you learn a few things about life, and about relationships. Whatever kind of relationship you build, whether it's family, friends, romantic relationships, you learn certain things. And if you don't forgive, which is, I think it's now a popular thing on social media, you'll bleed on the people that didn't cut you. And that is so true, that you hurt because of someone you didn't forgive, and it ruins your next relationship because you can't trust that person.
Also, I think for you to realize you need to forgive somebody, you need to realize that you're hurt. You need to move away from that denial that I'm a tough cookie, nobody can hurt me. For me, it took me a lot to realize that I was hurt. And then when I realized I was hurt, that is when I was like, I'm not gonna forgive these people. With me, it wasn't even in a relationship. It was the I was disappointed in my family. I was very disappointed. I was very disappointed in my family. A lot of things happened when I lost my mother, right? And then a lot of things just happened and they didn't make sense. And then I just accept them.
Feel like it's unfair.
I swept them under the carpet because I was like, now I need to move on, I need to toughen up, But as a crew, and then I sat down and I thought about things. I thought things through. I'm like, but I was a little girl. They should have been there to protect me. They should have been there. I'm in this situation because of them. If had they been there in the first place, I wasn't gonna be experiencing what I'm experiencing now. So every time I think about that, I'm like, I don't think they are
it wasn't fair.
Also, I don't think
they're not worthy
of my forgiveness. Also, my thing is, I don't think I should apologize to people who don't understand or who don't realize that they hurt me that much. It's easy for people to start acting nice to you, but it's another thing to come forward and say, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done this.
There's a difference between acting like everything is okay, because that's when you don't recognize my pain.
Exactly. Because I feel like now they're trying to be good people, that they're trying to act nice, but I don't think they actually realize what that did to me.
And also
there are certain things that I went through. Exactly, there are certain things that I went through that I shouldn't have went through if I had a solid support system, family support system. And then I'm like, okay, do you guys realize what you did to me? Because that is not reversible. It's done and it's eating on me. It's never gonna leave me alone.
And the worst part, it was in your developmental phase as a person. So you were still growing, and you needed to trust. You needed something to hold on to, and they weren't there.
And for that reason alone, I'm unable to trust people. Every time somebody comes to me and then they do something wrong, I'm always like, okay, now they've started. People have started. It's normal. They're gonna hurt me. They're gonna, it has built. It has made me build this wall between me and people who actually care about me.
And it's very hard.
I constantly hurt people because I'm hurt. And I feel like now it's really eating on me, and now I need real people to come forward and say, you know what, we are going to help you to get through
this. And it's okay.
And it's okay to feel like this. And I feel like I expect that to come from people that hurt me in the first place,
and sometimes it never will.
And it never will. And that's why I'm struggling with forgiving people and moving forward from certain situations that continue hurting me, because now I'm unable to move away from them because I'm holding grudges, because I feel like, okay, you guys are not doing what you're supposed to be doing. I'm giving you a chance now. You're still not doing the right thing.
And you feel like you keep giving them a chance over and over and over again, and they do the same thing
and they
over
do the same thing. So now, how do I genuinely forgive people like that?
With me, I went through a similar situation when I lost my dad, and I lost my dad young as well, and I expected his family to be there, his brothers, his cousins. And one thing that hurt me the most was that one of my uncles said to me, as long as I am alive, you will never need a father. You don't make that kind of promise to a child and then not keep it.
Unless you ready to keep it.
Yeah, because my thing was, there was nothing. He didn't need to do that. He never needed to say that and then to disappoint me that much. Because for me then, it made me not trust certain relationships, you know, because if I get into a close relationship, whether it's a friendship or a relationship with someone, then I already have that thing where if you leave, then people are like that. If you hurt me, then people are like that, what you're saying. And it took my boyfriend, because I remember we were having this conversation once about it was a child who'd lost, I think, both the parents, but there was something, I think there was money involved, but it was a very complicated situation. And my outlook on it was, I gave a very negative response. And he said to me, you have such a negative perspective when it comes to relatives. And it's something that at first I didn't want to admit, but he wasn't saying it because that was the first time I'd done it. He was saying it because constantly when we talked about relatives, or when we talked about family, or when we talked about, I always had a very negative perspective when it came to family and, you know, relatives and stuff like that. And he told me that is very scary, because it kind of shows me how damaged these people really left you. But not only does it show me that, it shows me how much you haven't realized how hurt you are. Exactly. It shows me that you haven't forgiven these people.
And you need to hurt for you to
realize you need to just let it somebody. Flow let through. It go. Because the other thing that I think I then realized when he said this is that they're fine. Wherever they are, they're fine.
And you hear.
And I'm here hurt over people that couldn't even care less. So I think the one thing you have to realize is your situation doesn't define you. What you went through, not your fault. What you went through, you couldn't have changed. What you went through, you didn't deserve. That's one thing that I think you always have to realize when you're hurt, is that you didn't deserve that pain. It might have been part of your growth. It might have been part of teaching you something, but you didn't deserve to get hurt like that. And most importantly, you don't deserve to be carrying all that hate. You don't deserve to be carrying all that ugliness. And I'm not saying forgiving them is going to be a walk in the park. Forgiving someone is never easy, because in forgiving someone, you have to go through that hurt again. And you have to recognize that hurt for what it really is.
Because that's something. At some point, I was ready to go down that road, right? To relieve my pains again, for me to forgive them. But they were just not there to receive it. Because, you know, for somebody to receive, they need to be ready and to acknowledge
and
that
sometimes you just want to tell them, you did this, you did
they need
this,
to account. They need to account for what they did. Acknowledge that they hurt you in certain ways. But
they were never
even there. So how do I forget? That's why I'm like, it's gonna take me a while.
It is gonna take you a while, but I think, like, the one thing we need to be honest about is that forgiveness isn't a wake up in the morning and I'm like, I've forgiven you, I'm okay. Because in forgiving someone, there's always this idea that you're letting them off the hook. If you get what I mean. The one thing I realized that we always struggle with when it comes to forgiveness is that forgiving someone, to a lot of us, means we're letting them off the hook. It means that we're saying it's okay and they can live their lives guilt-free. And in doing that also, personally, I realized that the one thing that not forgiving was making me was a victim. It was so easy for me to be a victim and to say, she did this to me, and he did that to me, and he did that to me.
That's what's happening to me. But it happens all the time. Every time somebody does something,
you turn into a victim.
Exactly. Even if it wasn't that deep, I'm always like, okay, they've started again. Your people, Lord.
Yeah.
They've started again.
Your children, Father.
You know.
But and I realized that, and it took me a while to say, I am not a victim. I am a survivor. I am not a victim of my circumstance. I have survived my circumstance. I am not a victim of the person that hurt me physically, that hurt me emotionally, that hurt me spiritually. I am a survivor of that situation.
Because that hurt that we carry within us, it impacts our daily decisions in a very
bad way.
Bruh, I make such horrible decisions when it comes to my relationships and people who care about me. I always think they're out to get me. You know, every time my boyfriend tries to put me in my place, I'm like, oh, okay, fine. Now you think you're better than me, you know. Okay, now he thinks is, you know. That time, a poor guy is not even trying to make me feel bad, you know.
And the thing is, he's not even putting you in your place. He's helping you grow.
Exactly.
Because sometimes you don't see certain
so
things.
Because I'm already that hurt, everything that happens, I'm like, okay, you know.
When I started dating my boyfriend, I had this thing where I was really guarded. So everything he said, I retaliated in defense mode immediately. I didn't even give him a chance to. So anything he said, I automatically attacked back because I assumed he was attacking. And dear God, it took me a while to realize that this was because of my previous hurt. This was because I was so guarded and constantly so ready to fight back that I didn't realize when I was damaging what I had. And I always say, thank God that he was so patient to see that the problem wasn't me and the problem wasn't him. The problem was the pain that I had experienced and refused to acknowledge as that and refused to move forward from it. When I started dating him, because of what I had gone through, I honestly thought, you know what, I'm not gonna open up and I'm not gonna go through that again. So I'm probably gonna give this 3 months. I'm probably gonna give this 4 months. And I said that to him. And I really am sorry that I said that to him because he didn't deserve that. He didn't deserve for someone to tell him, because basically what I was telling him is, you're not really worth the fight, and you know, just because of my past, I'm not gonna give you a chance. And it's been 3 years now, and because I learned that I had to forgive my past for me to have a future, and it goes deeper into things like, when I have kids, I don't want them to carry that. I don't want my kids to ever have to carry
nobody
such ugliness.
Has to be going around carrying that, because it's like a load, bruh.
It's a load. And when you take it off, I promise, forgiving someone for yourself or forgiving someone for whatever reason.
I feel like you should start doing it for yourself.
Yeah, forgiving someone.
Not for somebody else, not for any reason.
It is so
for
free.
For you.
Saying to someone, because the other thing I realized, when you don't forgive people, it leaves a bitter taste in your mouth when you see them, when you hear their name, when you see something that has to do with them. It puts fear in your heart, anxiety. It just it's not a good space to not forgive someone, because when you see them, you always have this thing. And I realized I couldn't go through my whole life at people. I couldn't go through my whole life angry, and it's just
because even when you see them and you try to smile, you know, you always know it's forced. It's a forced smile. But I think, see, with the learning process of being able to forgive, I think I'm getting there, because recently I was talking with my cousin, right? And then for the first time ever, I was able to tell her exactly how I felt. You know, I was dishing, and then she was there like, yes girl, tell me, because I was like, no, you guys should have done better to control the situation. Now I went through 1, 2, and 2, and you guys were not there to save me, because I was saved. I mean, I needed to be saved. I was so,
and also you just needed to be in a safe space.
I needed to be saved. I need to be in a safe space. I need to
You need to be a kid.
To be a kid.
And they didn't let you be
I needed to be a kid. And then I was like, okay. And then she suggested something that maybe I'll go talk to a professional. Yes, that. But I think I should be able to forgive myself first before I can go talk to somebody else. That's the one thing that I haven't done, but I think I'm moving towards.
And you should be able to say, you were a kid. It wasn't your fault, and I'm sorry this happened to you. And you need to get to a point where you don't allow the situation to control you anymore. You can't be a victim of that circumstance. You made it through. That's the most important thing, and you're here, which most kids can't. Most kids that went through your situation can't say they did. You were disciplined enough to get yourself through and to get where you are, and that says something about you. That says you're a bloody superhero, and you should see yourself as that. As I could have gone, it could have gone south, but it didn't, and you made it. And they should have been there, but they weren't. But God kept you, and you're here now, and that's something you also need to be proud of yourself about. Because the other thing about carrying a lot of hate because of not forgiving is that you stop seeing the good things. You stop seeing, but I made it through. But I was strong enough. But I had this. But I had that one person that was with me. You stop seeing everything else because you're clouded by your anger and you're clouded by your unforgivingness. And I think not forgiving sometimes robs us of so much joy. It robs us of...
It does.
Yeah, it robs us of so much growth, of so much knowledge, because you could learn so much.
And you always look like you're bitter, because every time somebody talks to you, you snap at them.
Don't you dare.
You know, I used to live with my Melo. She was my roommate, and I know we had a lot of disagreements, right? But sometimes I'd think to myself that you didn't have to overreact like that, you know. So every time something happened, before I could actually think about it, I snapped. And then realized later that no, you should have done that.
It's that whole thing that when you deal with a lot of unforgiveness, you deal with the fact that you constantly identify yourself as a victim, and that means you always have to protect yourself.
And I feel like I need to protect myself, even when
there's nothing to protect. So when someone comes at you, you're already on some. I am willing to fight. I will fight you if I have. At some point, I think I went through that when whoever did whatever, I was ready for that person to catch these hands. Okay, we will fight if we have to. You are not hurting me like the rest of the world. Okay.
Now I'm strong. I can be able to take care of myself. Because that's basically it. Yeah. I'm always like, now I'm strong. Come at me.
You know what? When I was younger, ain't nobody was there. Now you gonna learn. So I think it's one of those things that you have to do it for yourself, man. One thing also that I promised myself at the beginning of this year is that I was going to take responsibility for my actions. When you grow up, you realize that as much as a lot of people have been toxic towards you, you have been toxic towards those people.
Them and you.
And I learned, or I'm still learning, and I'm still going through the process. And at the beginning of the year, I promised myself that I would apologize to people I felt that I have hurt, or people that have acted towards me like I hurt them. Sometimes you can tell when someone believes you've hurt them. They might not say it to you,
but you can actually see that.
Yeah, it's in the way the dynamic of your relationship shifts. It's in the way the person starts talking to you or starts talking to you less. And when you start realizing those things, sometimes you don't even know what it is that you did. Because for me, I started realizing I was so busy being a victim in most of my situations that I didn't realize that I could have victimized someone else. So,
and also, the more you feel like you're a victim, the more you hurting other people without even realizing it.
Because you're too busy trying to protect. And I realized one other thing was that on a lot of people, I bled from wounds that they didn't cause. And that made things even harder because they didn't understand where the hurt came from. So I was just hurting people who didn't even realize that they'd done everything wrong. I was hurting people that didn't even know where this whole pain or the scar of it all came from.
And I mean, it's just so wrong for you to expect people to understand your pain without you,
especially when you give them a vague
explaining your situation to them, and then you just expect them to understand that you hurt.
So I learned I have to not only do I have to forgive myself for hurting those people, but I have to apologize. And in learning to apologize, I've also discovered that truly apologizing to someone means not expecting them to immediately forgive you.
You need to give them that space and time until they are ready to forgive.
Because when you forgive someone, when you apologize to someone expecting forgiveness in return, it's more about you than it is about them. That's why you have to forgive yourself and deal with yourself on the side, and then you have to apologize to them genuinely. Because I realized how much people that never apologized to me, or people that apologized to me for their own benefit, had left me damaged. So I was like, dear God, but what does that mean for the people that I have never apologized to? What does that mean to the people that I said sorry and expected it's okay back? So it also taught me that even in the little fights, man, or the little disagreements that I'll have with my boyfriend, if I'm wrong, I need to learn to say I'm sorry.
You need to learn to say you're sorry and really mean it.
And really mean it. Because I went through this thing where the way I apologized, I realized it didn't seem genuine to him, because I do this thing where I'd say, I'm sorry that you think I hurt your feelings. And I'm sorry that you feel that what I did was wrong, but that wasn't my intention.
And the moment there's a but.
And to him, that's not an apology. And then I'd say, I'm sorry, but this is what I was trying to do, and this is what was trying to happen, and then, it took the wrong turn, and then this is what happened, but you know what, if I hurt your feelings, I'm sorry.
With me is...
That's me saying I'm sorry that you're you. I'm sorry for all your feelings.
For me is... I know I'm not really big on sorries, but the one thing that I'm big on is accountability. I account for my actions, even though I won't say I'm sorry.
I think you and me were the same in that, and sometimes you need to realize explaining why you did what you did, taking responsibility for your actions, is not an apology. It is not apologizing for me to say, I realized that I did this and this and this and this. That's it. So,
but the one situation that legit humbled me, and now I can say I'm sorry, even though it's really not, the situation that happened last year. I'm not gonna go through it. You know what I'm talking about. I was at a point where I had lost a very valuable thing in my life, and it took me a while for me to understand I had a very big part in it.
In it, yeah.
Every time I would say no, but I did what I did because
I have my reasons.
Exactly, and until I realized no, I've been wrong all this time. If I hadn't done 1, 2, this wouldn't be the situation today, And then that whole thing made me realize you need to account for your actions, and you need to really be sorry and apologize to people that you have hurt.
Because two wrongs don't make a right.
They don't. So when the whole thing was happening, I would just pray. It got to a point where I would just pray. Also, I'm like, God, you need to
help me
know how to deal with these situations without pointing fingers, without trying to justify what I've done wrong.
Oh, girl, and I mean,
and I'll do that all the time.
I love justifying him.
You know, no, but I did that because you started first. You did this, and therefore I was only just defending myself.
It got to a point where Khal was always like, you just need to stop justifying it.
Exactly.
And when he said that, I was like, but the reason I justify, he's like, you're doing it again. And I think his thing was, I know you would never intentionally hurt me.
You just so when you justifying things.
So when you justify things, because my justification was always, I didn't mean to hurt you, and his thing was, I know you would never deliberately hurt me. I know you love me, but you need to account and apologize for what you did. And unfortunately, when you go through a thing where you rob someone of the chance to forgive you by not apologizing and you know all of that, it gets to a point that when you do apologize, you start sounding sarcastic.
Exactly. It doesn't have that impact
anymore. It doesn't seem genuine anymore, because then you apologize and that person's like, oh, stop being condescending, and you're like, no, but this time I actually mean sorry. And you know, so it's one of those things, this whole dynamic of forgiveness versus apology, not versus, or forgiveness and apologies and all of that, it shapes us a lot as people. And
to be better people in the near future, because I mean, how are you going to teach your kids about life?
That's when you raise emotional terrorists.
Exactly.
Because then you raise a person that's been raised out of hate and raised out of unforgiveness,
and they don't know the art of forgiveness, and then well, in my case, they think for you to forgive someone, you need to get even with them first. You know.
And you know, a vengeful heart. Shoo.
So guys,
revenge is hard.
You really need to start. It starts with you, within. Start by forgiving yourself first.
With you and for you.
Acknowledging first that you did wrong.
Oh yeah.
Or you hurt. Then knowing what to do next. Knowing how to deal with people who have hurt you next. Knowing how to say yes, I forgive you, and genuinely mean it.
And I think the hardest thing for anyone to have to deal with, and my advice is that the hardest thing is to deal with a person that never apologized. That is shoo.
Or they apologized
but didn't mean it, or did it for themselves.
Get sorry here. That is the most fucked up thing ever. Rather don't say it at all.
No, don't apologize.
Don't say it at all. If you don't mean it, if you're gonna say it like that, do not say it at all. Say it when you're ready to say it and you mean it.
Also, don't hang on to the idea of being a victim. Being a victim is not nice. It's not nice because then you're controlled for the rest of your life by that situation.
Also, it'll mess you up emotionally for the rest of your life. You will not do anything.
I think sometimes, it's not all the time, but sometimes social media does this thing where it kind of makes it cool to be damaged. It's not cool to be damaged, guys. When you really are damaged by circumstances,
think about it. If you're damaged and you don't want to get out of that situation,
you damage
other people. You go to work and then you get there, you're damaged. The whole company is damaged because of you.
Leaving. So you know, that's the thing.
And then you're gonna be that creepy friend among friends.
And you're gonna constantly be hurting people.
That's not cool.
And then it's like a really long cycle, and then we're gonna fall in love with the men that you hurt, and then they're gonna hurt us, and then we're gonna go hurt someone's poor son.
It's always that sucker.
Just someone hurting someone because of something. And by the time we all learn how to heal, or we all learn how to deal with the hurt, man, sometimes it's a little too late. And I mean, it's never too late to learn how to heal and how to.
But I think what you're trying to say is, it's already late in a way, in a sense that
you've hurt someone else
and then lost them, and you cannot gain that trust.
Yeah, I think there's nothing worse than knowing that you lost someone completely, either because you couldn't apologize, or you couldn't forgive a situation from your past, and so now you're so closed off and you're just hurting other people. So I think forgiveness is important mostly for yourself. I think people need to realize that when you forgive, you do it for yourself more than you do for the other person sometimes. It's very important to do it for yourself, to set yourself free, but also to be mindful of sometimes you just need to set the other person free as well. And in setting the other person free, you do set yourself free as well. Because I can forgive someone for myself, but I'm still going to have that thing that I'm holding them hostage until I forgive them. And it still leaves something, man, when you have that thing that I'm fine and I've forgiven them, but you haven't told them it's okay. You still know that you are holding someone emotionally hostage because you haven't forgiven them. But there's no rush in how the process of forgiveness goes, because we all deal with things differently. It's just, I think for me, forgiveness is very close to love. And I always say that for me, love is the biggest thing. It's the most important thing in everything that I do or say. So I think it's very important to love yourself enough to forgive someone, and to love yourself enough to know that forgiveness heals, and it doesn't necessarily mean weakness. I think the other thing is that people are too afraid that if I forgive that person, then I'm weak. Then I've let them walk all over me.
I've let them win.
We make mistakes.
It's not a race, guys. It's really not a race.
It's not. It's not a race. It's not if I forgive them, then they win. If I forgive them, then I don't know what it is that a lot of people think about when it comes to forgiveness, but we have a lot of damaged people out here because we are too proud to apologize or too proud to forgive.
I'm just gonna wrap it all up by saying, guys, it's okay to hurt. Acknowledge that you're hurt. They've hurt you. Apologize even when you have hurt yourself.
Apologize to yourself.
Apologize to yourself. Apologize to yourself and accept your apology and process it, recover. After then, you can learn to apologize to other people.
And
to other people and forgive other people, even if they do not apologize. Forgive them for you to
there are also
carry on
certain
with
situations
life.
that are huge. Like if someone sexually abuses you, that person is not going to apologize, and you need to forgive them, to let go. I'm not saying let them walk guilt free and be like, oh, whatever, but you need
at the
end
of the day, you're doing it for yourself, for your sanity, for you to carry on with life,
for your own health, for your emotional health.
Exactly. Just forgive them, even if they're never gonna apologize. Just forgive them and carry on with life. Also remember, like you said, remember that you never weak if you forgive somebody. You never, or if you apologize, you are never. Actually, personally, I think you're the strongest person ever, for you to step out of your comfort zone and then to go apologize to whoever you hurt. That is being a bigger person, guys.
Be a big girl.
Be a bigger person. Love more, apologize more, and just stop hurting people. No, there's nothing else. You're never gonna hurt somebody, but just when you have hurt them, try and set things right, things straight with them, and let's just behave.
Because imagine if everyone apologized for doing you wrong, and everyone forgave genuinely, just for the healing of it all.
Imagine that life. Imagine that life.
Wouldn't
life
we
would
just
be
happy?
Life would be so much happy.
That's an ideal world, and we don't necessarily live in an ideal world. But
yeah, guys, it has been such a nice conversation. Yes. I feel like now I'm gonna be a better person after this whole conversation. What we just talked about right now. I feel like I'm gonna be such a better person. I'm going to start working on myself, working towards forgiving me,
and being intentional about your forgiveness.
Exactly. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for tuning in.
I hope this conversation brings you healing in some way and help towards your journey of healing and discovering your pain and dealing with it. So that's it from us.
And do not forget to subscribe. We'll see you again, guys, next week. And then, like we always say, we're never going to disclose what you're going to talk about next week.
But we love hearing from you. So, email us or comment on on this week's episode and let us know what you think.
And please do share.
Please do share. We love you all. Thank you so much for your support.